Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of the NTC podcast. I'm Aaron Washington, your host. As usual, this podcast is sponsored by Sports Business Classroom. So, this is a special installment of our podcast, episode 96 this afternoon. I have the awesome opportunity to speak with forward Tyler Smith. He plays for the G League Ignite based out of Las Vegas. He's having a great season so far, doing his thing as a stretch four in this league. He has a unique experience as a basketball player that I'm going to ask him about here in just a minute. But Tyler, before we get into the interview, man, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to join me. I know you have a busy schedule with your G League Ignite season going, and there's a lot kind of going on in the middle of the campaign here. So just appreciate the time, man, and I hope everything has been going well on your end and you're really enjoying the season so far.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yep.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this interview here. Really excited to kind of get your insights, Tyler, on your experience at the G League Ignite so far. But before we dive into the G League Ignite season, I first want to ask you about your experience in the Overtime Elite League. So I'm based in Atlanta, and I've actually been to a couple of OTE games, and I went to the OTE Combine back in September. So I'm pretty familiar with their program and what they do. And, you played for the Cold Hearts last season, and you had a great campaign with them as well. You actually secured second team all OTE honors last season with that program. So you had an awesome campaign for them before you joined the G League Ignite. So you signed a deal with them actually leading into their first season. So they were kind of new to the scene. They were just getting started. They hadn't had a lot of experience beforehand. But the program has really grown over the past couple of years here. And what I first wanted to ask you, Tyler, to kind of get this going is, what did you learn? What did you gather from your experience in the Overtime Elite League that has really carried over into the G League Ignite? What have you learned? What did you pick up? What do you feel like that experience has done to help you kind of get acclimated or just to have a faster start here with the Ignite program?
It taught me how to work for real, because I was on my own since 16 to 18. So just going to the gym by myself, staying later, getting there early, and just like being a pro. That's really what I learned ahead of all the other players in my high school class.
Right. Yeah, that program is really unique, man, just because it's a little bit different than the traditional high school route I've found. But people have spoken so highly of it. You see so many guys coming out of that program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Samto at all. You probably are, just since I think you played against him last season. But I actually interviewed him last month, and man, he's such a force, man. So like, just the players that come out of that program are so impressive, and you're just another example of that. So the experience is really cool, and that documentary that came out recently is cool too. So that's awesome that you picked that up. Have you felt like that coaching and that environment and all that you went through are kind of similar to G League Ignite, just that kind of environment, that competitive environment that you're facing right now?
Oh yeah, it was definitely competitive, especially the first year. Us having NBA coaches like Coach Ali, he with the Brooklyn Nets now. He was just showing us ways to play defense at the pro level and stuff at that age too. So I feel like we had to step up. And practice, they're always competitive. I feel like that prepared me for grown man basketball too. So
absolutely, man. That helps so much when you're going to a level like that. With the G League. I mean, you're playing with guys that have been in the NBA before. So that's a huge step up, and it looks like you're really acclimating well to that environment. So next, kind of going forward from that point, I wanted to ask you about your game specifically, Tyler. Just watching you and watching the way you fill the stat sheet, it's clear that you're an all-around forward. You're not just a scorer, you're not just a rebounder. You like to do a little bit of everything on the basketball court, which is huge for the G League Ignite. It really helps you guys out in a big way. So when it comes to your skills as a basketball player, going into this season, did you make it a point to focus on any particular part of your game that you wanted to improve? Or are you just doubling down on your ability to be an all-around basketball player that can do a little bit of everything when you step on the basketball court?
I mean, I like to do a little bit of everything, but one skill I want to work on the most is my defense. Well, I've been working on it. It's got better over the year, but you want to see me play more defense, and I feel like I've been doing that, and I'm getting better at it.
I'm glad you mentioned the defense, because actually it leads into one of the questions I had for you. Looking at the box scores, looking at your averages, you're at 1.1 assists and blocks this season, which really says that you pay a lot of attention to what's going on the defensive end of the floor. So something else I wanted to ask you is that component. You obviously have a good feel of when to get up for blocks, when to go for steals. So when it comes to your attention to detail on that side of the floor, is this something that you've always had in your game? Is this something that this season has kind of just exploded to another level? Like, where does that kind of passion and real dedication to that side of the floor come from?
I mean, just me wanting to play in the game, because you can't play in the game in the G League we can't play defense. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna have to play defense in the league next year to get on the court. So
Mhm.
why not start now?
That makes a lot of sense, man. And just watching some of your film, you have great instincts, you have long arms, the athletic tools really help you. But as you know, it takes more than just having tools to be a great defender. You have to kind of know where to be on the court.
Yeah.
So is that something that you're really kind of honing in on with coaches and film sessions, just the timing and where to be on the court? Like, how are you going about just becoming better as a defender and getting your timing down and all that?
I mean, as a team, we'd be doing shell drills, stuff like that every practice. So me just knowing where to be just comes from practice.
Yeah, practices are a huge part of that. Just kind of doubling down on those skills and really learning how to do that. It makes a ton of sense, man. So when it comes to film, I want to expand on that a little bit. I'm sure that's a part of your daily regimen, just watching film of yourself, watching other players. When it comes to the next level, that's somewhere you want to be, I'm sure, next year, kind of going forward in your career, being in the NBA. Are there any players, either former, current players, NBA guys that you sit down and watch, like model your game after? Like, is there anybody that kind of really stands out to you that you really say, hey, I want to play like that guy. I want to have a similar impact to that guy. Like anybody on the next level stand out to you in that regard?
It's a couple guys. I watched some Chris Bosh in with the Raptors. I watched Jabari Smith, Keegan Murray, and Karl Anthony Towns. Those are the players that like basically try to put some of their game in my game. So yeah.
Jabari Smith in particular, man, that's a great guy to watch. Yeah. I actually had a podcast, I think it was last week. We were talking about sophomores, and Jabari Smith really stood out to us as a guy that is a two-way force. He's really similar to you. I can see where the influence comes from because he's shooting a great percentage this season, and he's really doing a great job on just being a better defender overall as well. So I can see that influence for sure. And aside from film, have you had the opportunity to just kind of talk to anybody at that next level, like gain some insights from them, get some advice, like anybody that you've had a chance to reach out to and speak to at all?
Not really during the season, but during the summer, we went to LA, talked to a couple NBA players, like Pascal Siakam, people like that, just giving me tips, pointers at the pro level.
What did Siakam or a couple of those other guys kind of tell you about what to look out for, or just how to prepare yourself better for the NBA?
It was just like, don't play too fast, stuff like that. Because when we played them, and then like after the game, he was just telling me stuff like certain moves you should do, certain moves you can't do in the league, like mid ranges and stuff like that. They don't really do that unless you're like a star. So you just have to run the corner, space the floor, and just do the little things to play on the court.
And Siakam is definitely one of those guys to learn from and get a lot of experience from. As I'm sure you're aware, he was just recently traded from the Raptors to the Pacers, and that's just another part of the game that you're going to have to get used to. The possibility of being traded and having your circumstances change. Going back to the G League Ignite season specifically, it's no secret that it's been an up and down road for you guys. It's been a little bumpy. 0-14 record here through 14 games. But that's just it's a part of the journey. You have bumps in the road. So when it comes to just dealing with that adversity, those challenges of just losing games and coming up short a lot of nights, what is it that you guys as a team have discussed to really just kind of continue to just work hard to get through the bumps and the struggles? Talking to Coach Hart, what has been the main message or messages in the locker room as you guys continue to navigate what has been a challenging season so far?
Keep playing. We're getting better on certain things, like our defense getting better. So I feel like it's just little things until like we're little steps away to winning more games. It's just that is a pick up on defense, stuff like that.
Just keep working. I'm sure it's you guys are gonna break through. Like you're way too talented to just continue to down this road. So I mean, I watched the box scores. I see there are a lot of games that you guys are just right there. Yeah. It's just a couple little things that you need to get over the hump there. So have you felt like that through this campaign, just through all the losing? I'm sure that, if it was up to you, you want to win all your games, but have you felt like in certain ways that going through this tough stretch, just with losing and just coming up short has, helped you to continue to grow as a player? Just having those challenges so far through the season?
I mean, yeah, you can't win every game. You just got to keep playing hard no matter what happens. That's what I learned from this. Just play hard no matter what.
So now I want to ask you about how you are slotting in next to your teammates. So there's a couple of guys in your team that are, pretty high profile guys going into, this draft cycle. Ron Holland, Matis Buzelis, guys that you play with on a nightly basis. You play with those guys quite a bit. And I kind of want to ask you about your fit with those players. It looks like that become pretty comfortable slotting in as an ancillary player to those guys. They get a lot of shots every game. They handle the ball quite a bit, and you look pretty comfortable spacing the floor, playing off those guys. What is your focus when you're playing next to higher usage players like that? What are you trying to do? How are you focused on impacting the game when you don't have the ball in your hands as much of those guys? When you have less shots, what is your primary focus when you're playing next to like Ron Holland or other guys that maybe dominate the ball a little bit more than you?
I mean, just got to do little things or just show I can play with anybody. Teams look for that. You got to show you can play with anybody. And when they're scoring the ball, I'm either trying to grab the rebound, put it back, or just get back on defense. They get a bucket. So, I mean, everybody can really play with everybody on this team. That's like the good thing about those players. They can play with anybody, play in any lineup. So it's pretty easy to play with them.
I'm sure playing with them, can be a challenge, but it's also a blessing as well. Just with the way that Ron Holland could get downhill and his athleticism, and just watching Buzelis just being a shot creator. Those guys are so fun to watch. What have you gained when you go against those guys in practice? When you're playing against them, what have you learned about them as players that in turn can also help you as you continue to grow? Just having that experience, just like you had an OTE playing against guys that are very talented like that.
Just the competitive part, for real, like. Every practice competitive. Somebody might get the best of you one day. You might get the best of them. Just learning how to just fight through stuff. Just play together. That's really it. Learning how to play together.
Yeah, those guys are super talented, but you are as well. And it looks like you're getting better every single day just playing next to guys like that. Next up, Tyler, I want to kind of focus on another aspect of your game that is, that stands out a lot just watching your film, and that's the jump shot. This season you're shooting 37% on threes. You're a left-handed player, which is unique, but it also offers you an advantage just being a southpaw like that. Your shooting stroke is very impressive. It's quick, it's repeatable, it's smooth, and kind of want to ask you about that part next. I'm sure it can be very tempting to just lean into that too much sometimes. You're a great shooter, but obviously, you don't want to just be a shooter. You want to contribute, score in other parts of the floor as well. So how do you go about just finding a balance? Like how do you just keep from just falling in love with that jumper to a point to where you're not attacking or just being aggressive on the floor? How do you strike a balance just between just being a shooter, but also getting shots, closer to the basket?
I mean, at the beginning of the season, like our first preseason game, I just shot straight threes as soon as I caught it. Coach told me after the game, "You're 6'10", you need to start sending screens, stuff like that." So I feel like that expanded my game more to make me be able to score in different areas. At first, I was just a spot-up shooter. I didn't know what else I could do, but now, I'm realizing I'm bigger than everybody too at the pro level. So just set screens, roll, get lobs, really score at all levels right now.
It sounds like doing the little things is an emphasis for you as well. Not just being a great shooter, but doing those other things. Because when you get to the next level, defenses are going to be aware of your shot, and they're going to want to get you to other places on the floor, get you inside, get you in the mid-range. Obviously, you don't want to just be known as only a shooter, a guy that can get inside. So when it comes to maybe like finishing or getting closer to the basket, is there anything in particular that you're focusing on or you're working on to just be better about finishing through contact, being stronger around the basket? How are you going about kind of refining that part of your game at all?
I mean, just in practice, again, staying after practice, getting up touch shots, stuff like that. Just working on it every day.
I guess we'll end on this one just to kind of wrap up the interview. We're in January, almost February. You guys have played 14 games. We're getting into the part of the season now to where, things are getting serious. We're getting down the stretch and draft season isn't too far away. So, what are your, I guess, overall final goals for yourself as you go into the farther into draft season, getting closer to the draft, closer to the summertime? What are some goals that you set for yourself that you want to hit, that you want to let the scouts know about, want to let these NBA teams know about as you are moving forward closer to that point in your career to where, the NBA is getting closer for you?
I mean, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing and hopefully more. Well, I am going to try to do more and hopefully to make green room for the draft. So those are my two goals. Keep doing what I'm doing and more to make green room.
So I'll throw you a bonus question here just to kind of close this out. Is there anybody that you watch in NBA right now that you say like, man, I can't wait to match up against them. I want to see how I compete against them, how we line up. Like, is there anybody that you're just really excited to kind of go toe to toe against, when you get to that point in your career?
I mean, I'll say Karl Anthony Towns or Kevin Durant, for real. Because
Yeah.
Kevin Durant was my favorite player when I was younger. Karl Anthony Towns is a player I watch all the time. So
Yeah, Towns, that's gonna be a tough matchup, man. Just dropped 62 last week. He's hooping at a great level. KD's still doing his thing, even
yeah,
being like 35 years old. It's incredible, man. It's really fun to watch those guys. But that's about all I have for you, Tyler. I want to thank you again for joining the NTC podcast. We love getting to interview guys like you that have a unique journey, but you're also doing some really incredible stuff on the next level, and you're really making a name for yourself when it comes to getting on the NBA scene and getting to that next level, man. So we want to wish you all the best. Best of luck the rest of this season. Best of luck the rest of your career. Keep doing your thing, and thanks for joining the podcast again.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So if you guys want to see more interviews like this with Tyler, with Samto, with other guys that are really just making a name for themselves on the next level, be sure to check out our website, notradeclause.com. Our socials are on the screen for you guys if you're watching. No Trade Clause on Instagram, notrade_clause on Twitter. And we have all the content here, video content, audio content, and other resources for you guys to check out if you want to see that. So we hope to see you in the next installment of NTC. And until then, enjoy this season. Keep watching the G League Ignite if you guys aren't already. They're doing some great stuff down there. And we'll see you next time.